Flashback Friday radio show on the G-Lew Show with Queen Jean. G-Lew, sponsored by BTP Media Group, 93 Tweed FM Ism, Dee Harrison of Westside Car Club. Flashback Fridays.
Check the vibe. Back in the days on the boulevard I landed, we used to kick routines and the presence was fitting. It was I, the abstract,
and me, the 5-footer. I kicks the mad style, so step off the Frankfurter.
Yo, Fife, you remember that routine? That way used to make spiffy like Mr. Clean?
A tidbit, a smidgen. I don't get the message, so you got to run the pigeon.
You're on point, Fife.
All the time, Tip.
You're on point, Fife.
All the time, Tip.
You're on point, Fife.
All the time, Tip.
So then grab the microphone and let your words rip.
Now here's a funky introduction of how nice I am. Tell your mother, tell your father, send a telegram. I'm like an energizer cause you see I last long. My crew is never ever whack because we stand strong. Now if you say my style is whack, that's where you're dead wrong. I slay that body and El Segundo, then push it along. You'll be a fool to reply the fight is not the man. Cause you know and I know that you know who I am. A special shout out piece goes out to all my pals you see. And a middle finger goes for all you punk MCs. Cause I love it when you whack MCs despise me. They get vexed, I will next and none can test me. I'm just a fly MC who's 5 for 3 and very brave. On top remaining, no home training cause I misbehave. I come correct and full effect of all my hoes in check. And before I get the butt, the gym must be a wreck. You see my aura's positive, I don't promote no junk. See I'm far from a bully and I ain't a punk. Extremity of rhythm, yeah that's what you heard. So just clean out your ears and just check the word. Check the time, y'all. On the boulevard of Linden, we used to kick routines and the presence was fitting. It was I, the Viper,
and me, the abstract. The rhymes were so rumpin' that the brothers wrote the Zach.
Hey yo, Tip, do you recall when we used to rock those fly routines on your cousin's block?
Let me see. Damn, I can't remember. I'll receive the message and you will play the sender.
You're on point, Tip.
All the time, Fife.
You're on point, Tip.
Yeah, all the time, Fife.
You're on point, Tip.
You're all the time, Fife.
So play the resurrector and give the dead some life.
Okay, if knowledge is the key, then just show me the lock. Got the scrawny legs, but I move just like Lou Brock with speed. I'm agile, plus I'm worth your while. 100% intelligent black child. My opera presentation sizzles the retina. How far must you go to gain respect? Well, it's kinda simple. Just remain your own, or you'll be crazy, sad, and alone. Industry rule number 4080. Record company people are shady. So kids watch your back cause I think they smoke crack. I don't doubt it. Look at how they act. But off to better things like a hip hop forum. Pass me the rock and I'll score 'em with the quorum and proper. What you say, hammer? Proper. Rap is not pop. If you call it that, then stop.
Hey kings and queens, this is Queen Jean of the G-Lew Show. Come and spend your golden time of the day with us on our Westside Wednesdays, our Fabulous Fridays, and of course our #1 rated OG, Fabulous Lowrider Oldie Show. You can also catch us online, blogtalkradio.com/The G-Lew Show. We also have a YouTube channel where you can tune in there as well. Catch all of our fabulous shows in our archives. We appreciate your support. Peace and love.
Yes, sir. I check 1 2 1 2.
You're now tuned in to the world famous G-Lew show. I am G-Lew. I'm joined by my lovely, beautiful co-host, Miss Queen Jean. Good evening, Queen.
Good evening, G-Lew. How are you?
Doing spectacular, fabulous. Missed everything going on. Let me say that now. It's a lot going on out here. But exempt from that, I am doing great, blessed. Glad to be here. Flashback Fridays with you and our special guests and our people listening out there across the world. So, how about yourself, Queen?
I'm good. I'm actually good this evening. It was a beautiful day today out here in the Carolinas. Sun was shining, good vibes, energy, and I am also grateful to our listeners and excited about our guests that we have this evening, and also, of course, to be in your presence is always a plus.
Yes, likewise. And with that being said, guess we'll give a shout out to our sponsors, and we'll just go ahead and introduce our guest. He's here waiting in the green room.
Okay, shout out to BTP Media, One World Magazine, Dee Harrison, Tweed Cadillac, Westside Car Club, and Rob the Realtor. Oh, and Lisa Collins and Ladies of Football. And let's bring in our guest, Mr. Skeff Anselm from the Bronx,
Yes.
proclaimed engineer and producer. I think I pronounced that last name correctly. So, sir, can you come and join us?
He'll correct you.
Yeah.
He will correct
Good evening,
me.
sir.
He definitely will correct me.
Yes. Can you all hear me clearly?
Yes. How are you?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Yes, everything was pronounced wrong.
That is terrible, bad.
Yes.
It's
all
come on
good.
and tell me.
The first and last name.
Yes,
Is
first
it
and
Skeff?
last name. It's
Okay.
Skeff. Skeff.
Like-
Skeff. Last name Anselm. Anselm. Pronounced Anselm.
Anselm. Skeff Anselm, ladies and gentlemen.
Anselm.
Anselm, like
How do you
Selma.
feel?
Like
There you
Selma.
go.
Oh, you saying Selma.
There you
She's
go.
saying Selma. Maybe it's just a pronunciation, but it's Selma,
Yeah.
like
Maybe that's-
Selma, like Anselm.
Yeah. It's
Anselm.
that what? Yeah. That little West
What you
Indian
gonna
slang that I got.
Yeah, well, hey,
Okay.
I almost called you Jeff. Skeff. Yeah, go ahead and look, got me over here. But look, Skeff, can you? I'm glad you spoke on that because that made me a misconception of people may hear you and not know maybe where your roots or origins are from. But we do know you are from the Bronx, New York. But we do know that accent. So why don't you tell the people a little bit about your background originally?
Yeah, originally I was born on the island of Dominica, West Indies, and I grew up in the Bronx pretty much. Came up here as a kid around 8 years old, and
right.
raised in the Bronx.
So you have
let
two
me ask
accents.
you a quick question. Yeah, he has two, that Bronx. Let me ask you this quick question. I didn't mean to cut you off at all because I want you to continue, but I'm just now bringing up your background and West Indian, and I know New York is like a melting pot of a lot of different cultures, nationalities, all together as one. But growing up in the Bronx, where I'm sure it's a lot of Puerto Ricans and blacks and whatever else, maybe Jamaicans, I don't know, but was it a big West Indian population in the Bronx where you grew up, or was it not many?
Yes.
How was that for you?
Especially the North Bronx was mostly all Caribbean. But there was Caribbean people all through the Bronx, but the bulk of them was in the North Bronx.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. One more thing, Skeff. Growing up in New York, like how was that for you coming from the West Indies to New York? But like you said, there's a lot of different cultures and everything. But how was that for New Yorkers just growing up in New York? Because you guys were able to definitely experience that, everybody growing up together, as one, like from Puerto Ricans to, like you said, West Indies, Jamaicans, everywhere. I'm sure
everywhere.
Italians,
like you said,
everything. How was that for you growing up?
It was beautiful, man. It was because New York is a melting pot, and we have people from everywhere.
Right.
like you said, if you start in the Bronx, and the people I grew up with was mostly, as you all said, was Puerto Ricans. My best friends Puerto Ricans, and the Caribbean community, and definitely the brothers and sisters from the South. So all my childhood friends, their grandparents was from North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, you name it, all through the South.
Right. Right. I think that shapes you pretty good too, as well. Like New Yorkers, I see that like where you really coming up. It's hard to be racist or not racist, but because like we grew up in California. It's a separation with Spanish, like maybe sometimes Mexican and black. It's not a separation, but it grows to kind of be that. Whereas in like New York, everybody's together. I know Puerto Ricans is just the same as blacks, and it's all
right.
like, so you guys grow up to have love, right, for other cultures.
Yeah, true indeed. Because once everybody left their boroughs, the Bronx, Queens, wherever you're from in New York in the tri-state area, everybody would end up working in Manhattan. So and in Manhattan, you got all your different races coming. What the heck?
I don't know.
Like that was my.
That's you?
That was my computer. Yeah, that's my computer.
Oh, okay. I know it ain't Queen over there. But go ahead, brother.
Nah, my computer just started playing some stuff, man. I was like, what's that? Something you want me to sample? I don't know.
It works for you, huh? Even when you're not working, it's working for you.
I was like, what was that? No, I just had some stuff up to remind myself on some dates, and things started bugging out over here. But
it's all
anyway,
good.
So like I was saying, New York pretty much was in the city, you pretty much had different races: Irish, Italians, Germans, Russians,
right?
You name it. So
everybody,
and everybody interacts. So whether you working with all nationalities, riding the train or public transportation with different nationalities, it becomes a way of life.
Right.
But definitely coming up to the 70s and stuff, there was definitely still racism. So at the end of the day, as a kid, you're not really in touch with it unless you ran into it. In the neighborhood I grew up, I didn't really deal much of racism. But I have.
Right.
It's funny when I talk to my wife who grew up in Brooklyn, and she would talk about when her friends used to go to different parts of Brooklyn, and you dealt with racism, from different, from the Caucasian race, onto them, and it's you can't go in that part of Brooklyn, you can't, because they'll chase you out of the neighborhood or whatever, But I never dealt with that in the Bronx. For me as a kid growing up, it was beautiful.
That is beautiful. And besides just growing up, in a melting pot and like you said, the 70s, let me throw this on you as well. You coming from the West Indies and all that, but you came up in a time in the Bronx in the 70s. You already know I'm going with this. You've seen hip-hop birth. You're there from the beginning and seen it all. How was that for you to and I know probably at the time you didn't know where it all was going or how big it was going to be or whatever the case, but just looking back now, how was that for you as well, growing up in the Bronx and seeing pretty much the birth of hip-hop? I know you lived up the street from Bambaataa and, you hooked up with Jazzy J and, you were just there for it all. But on the flip side of that, if somebody knows you or checks you out or checks your whole get down out, you wouldn't know. You're not your typical Bronx hip-hopper type of guy when you see you or maybe even talk to you. You know what I mean? You're still a different type of guy, but you're still a product of this hip-hop. Tell us how that was for you, how did all that mix for you?
I think a lot of the difference, I think, for me compared to, my friends I grew up with, it has to do with my culture and my family. That, even though I grew up with a lot of cats that went astray or did whatever they did in the streets, they were still my friends. And when they decided to go left, I went right at the last minute.
Right.
That was the only thing. That's just, I wasn't built like that.
Your culture keeps you grounded.
Yeah, I'm in the culture, and even in the Caribbean culture now. Don't get it twisted. You know what? You know, everybody has their dirt in their culture. Every culture has their dirt.
Right.
You know, everybody do dirt. You know, it's just a matter of, and nobody getting a free pass in this. You know, we all have our dirt.
Right.
You know, no matter where you're from. But the point of it is,
right.
I chose not to go down those paths. You know, I experimented, but not got. Thank God I didn't get caught up. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right. Did you have a presence of good background, like mother, father? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Good guidance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I think that's what that's
shows.
the major difference. Yeah, it's
right.
upbringing, definitely.
Yeah, I guess that's what I meant
right,
when I
right.
said your culture is actually your upbringing. Yeah.
You know, but like I said, you know, that is.
But his culture too,
me,
though. You know? I understand.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
Definitely. But yeah. So like I said, growing up in the Bronx, and back to your original question in reference to the birth of hip hop. Yeah,
right.
It wasn't back then. It was just that's what my life was. You know, that's what my friends was doing. That when I was in junior high school, watching the old, you know, like you said, the Bambatas and the Flashes, and even Kool Herc, the originator. They used to play all DJ in the parks 2 and 3 blocks from my house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so when they started playing, I could hear the music from my window. I didn't live in the projects, but Bronx River Project, where Bambata is from, was 3-4 blocks from my house, and I grew up in a house.
Right.
So from my window, when they was playing music, I can hear the music from my window. So they play music, run over to the project. Or if they're playing the music in the park, you couldn't even hear it, or the word of mouth traveled that fast, you know, in a matter of hours, you know, and you just run 4 blocks around the other direction to the park.
Wow.
And so
let me ask you. Oh, go. I'm sorry. I was going to ask you just briefly. How did your parents feel about your family? Again, you have a different background. Maybe they didn't understand hip. But, I don't know. Did they feel any type of way about you gravitating to the streets or the hip hop thing?
No, not at all. Because back then it wasn't things. On the negative side, things wasn't really jumping off like that. Yeah, right, the violence in the street. I mean, there was the gangs and stuff. The black spades and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, when that stuff was jumping off, I was probably in my house already. I was too young.
Right.
Right. But otherwise than that, the streets wasn't like it was today. The streets wasn't.
Yeah.
It
Right.
wasn't as violent. So my parents trusted me going to the park and listening to music and going. Because most of the time the music, it will start like around 4 or 5 o'clock and end like around maybe like 8, 9 o'clock. Because there was a the city would have an audience, and the city would shut it down. When we started getting dark.
Audience.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this on the flip side though, because you do again. I almost forgot you come from the Bronx, man. So it's like even though back then in the '70s it wasn't that popping like that, but still you coming from the Bronx was just really considered to this day one of the roughest boroughs in New York City. You know what I mean? The Bronx is like serious. So still, how were you still? I mean, I guess like you said, it wasn't that bad then, but it was still bad. I'm sure in the Bronx.
No,
New York is no joke. That's like Watts in Los
But
Angeles.
the thing is, it's the neighborhood. Like I said, it's the neighborhood that I grew up in. I didn't grow up in the South Bronx. I grew up in the Southeast Bronx. So at the end of the day, where things was really bad, where buildings was all burnt down and stuff, I wasn't living in those neighborhoods. I had friends in those neighborhoods. I went to school with, friends from those neighborhoods. And I even had family who live in those neighborhoods. But it's like I'm in and I'm out. It wasn't like I was, I didn't grow up in those neighborhoods.
Right. So I'm glad you broke that down because people may not get – I think we had somebody else on here recently, Queen, who was kind of breaking down how the Bronx – because, if you – like you just said, if you look back, if you don't know, like, the area, you don't know about the Bronx, how – like you just said, it's different parts and different areas. You know what I mean? You just sometimes look at the Bronx like, damn, that shit looks crazy,
But
Yeah, you look
talk,
at it as it's just hood, like just ghetto hood. When you hear the Bronx.
Touching what you just said, I went out. I have family in London. Okay, when I was a kid, my mom took me out to London because that's where her siblings was living. Went out to London. My cousins started talking about New York and the Bronx. And the first, the first words that came out of their mouth, because all they saw on television and movies was all the bad stuff about the Bronx, and they were like, "Well, we heard just like you just said." They had the picture was painted already. The Bronx is only like, in a negative light. And no, there was more to the Bronx than that. It's just because that's the image that was painted, and that's all they knew all the way, across the pond in London.
Right. Wow.
And the same way that's all you knew growing up. No, the whole Bronx wasn't like that.
That's what I'm glad that we can have this type of conversation and break that down just for the people who and I'm sure of course I'm sure it's not all bad, but still just to get a bigger perception of what it is. Like you just said, I think we had somebody on here recently, Queen, that was from the Bronx though, but they were telling us it was not only the South Bronx, but a South, Northeast, and different parts that we just don't know. So we just hear about the South Bronx.
Right.
I mean, everywhere in this country, if you go to a state and then you go to a county or a city, that same city, you can walk around and say, okay, that part has more violence. That part is the cool place to go to. That part is, everywhere has it like that.
Right.
And that's just what it is. But the difference for when I was growing up in the Bronx back then is that what helps save the youth back in, my generation back then, and the guys a little older than me and a little younger than me, was hip hop. Because at the end of the day, either you was playing basketball, football, or stickball, whatever you doing, but then when the music came up, everybody was just hanging out, listening to music and having fun and doing what they do. And everybody was just chilling, doing what they do. Right. The hip hop is what really calmed people down back then. Hip hop was what had everybody. I mean, once in a while, something's going to jump off. There's going to be a little fight or something like that, or whatever little crew, and another little crew back in those days, they was calling them crews, had a little, run-in.
Right.
But that's normal stuff.
So the hip hop brought more unity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because again, he grew up. I mean, the Bronx is just like it's so much history with the hip hop, and obviously you being a kid, I'm sure you seen it all and what influenced you. And I know you were good friends with Jazzy J, and I want to ask you about that relationship. But also I want to jump just maybe a little bit forward out the 70s to the early 80s. You again being in the Bronx. I mean, you got classic movies that are filmed there, but one being in particular, Beat Street, that the world knows, was filmed there. And were you able to see some of that or be a part of that or witness that or around that time?
No.
Okay.
Because around that time, that's when, hip hop started getting into that level. I was not even into the music business at all. I was younger back then, so I was more like you, people my age group. I was still a kid who was a fan of hip hop, and you seen hip hop grow, to the big screen, and that's it. The only thing you can sit there and say, yes, I did know people, that I grew up with or knew of personally or saw come up on the screen, and for me that was like, wow.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that's the big moment.
To the big screen, I was like, wow.
Right. Well, I mentioned that because in the movie Jazzy is in there. When is your introduction to Jazzy, or maybe even introduction to where you get involved with hip hop in that sense?
Well, I got introduced to hip hop. I mean, besides being the way of life, Africa Bambaataa. I knew Bam and a lot of other, dudes from Zulu, from like a lot of guys I went to high school with. My high school was like 3 blocks from Bronx River Projects, from where Bambaataa is from. So most of the guys, most of my friends from high school, was from Bronx River Projects. So when I was to hang with them, and I was go to hang out in Bronx River, they knew Bam because they grew up in the projects with him. So that's how I got to meet him. And when I used to hang with them, once in a while, when he's going to the recording studio, he would have us come along to the studio, and I think that's what, that's when the bug bit me. I was like, wow, this is really cool. Learn how to see the recording process go down.
Right.
And that's how I got, but I originally met Bam. I have a cousin. He's he's much older than me, but he used to be in a disco group called GQ. They had a song called I Do Love You.
Come on now. Yes, one of our favorites. I meant to ask you about that. Yes, man. We love GQ.
I know what you know about GQ.
Come on, man.
We know about GQ.
Stop it, man. Yeah, I meant to ask you about that because I heard you speak about that before. I was going to ask you about that. Yeah, man, we love GQ.
Right.
Yeah. So the lead singer of GQ is my cousin. That's my big cousin.
Okay.
And that was another thing that got me started in music too, because before there was GQ, there used to be, the name of the group was the Rhythm Makers, and they used to practice in our basement. And that's what got me, started with music. And then back to Bambaataa from being in the studio and stuff. So once, as my cousin had a studio, I had to hang with him in his studio. And then I saw one day I was back right before I graduated from high school. I was working part-time at a nursing home. And two elder of my coworkers, they was much older, like old enough to be my parents at that time. They was telling me, both of them was telling me I don't need to be here. I need to go to school and do something that's, in other words, don't make it a career here. So go find something that, that's really you, and go to school and, and grow. So one day I was looking, back then they used to have in the back of the newspaper, they used to have advertisements for different schools and stuff. And there was a school that popped up, I saw an advertisement called Center for the Media Arts. I was like, oh. So they had a seminar of showing you all the different classes and courses they have at the school. So I went to the seminar, and I said, I'm going to learn how to be a camera operator or something for shooting film. And then also they had the recording engineer class popped up in the seminar. I was like, oh, they have this here too? So I switched from camera to engineering because being around the music with my cousin and Bambaataa, I was like, no, this is what I want to do. Right. So I went to start going to school for engineering, and then one day in the neighborhood I ran to Bambaataa, and I was like, yo, I'm going to school for engineering. So he's like, yo, Jazzy, and I know Jazzy from the neighborhood too, because Jazzy's from Bronx River Projects. Right. And he said, yo, Jazzy just building a home studio. Maybe, you should hook up with Jazzy. I said, well, talk to him and let him know, I'm going to school for engineering. Maybe you can hook us up. And he did that. He gave me Jazzy's number, and I called Jazzy, and Jazzy was like, come through. Next thing you know, I was Jazzy's assistant at his studio. And while I was going to school for engineering, I was assistant Jazzy at his studio. And
so you got hands on.
One of the first projects that I ended up started helping out with was Slick Rick, Children's Story.
Wow.
So Slick Rick, his first album, he did Children's Story, and he did Mona Lisa with us first.
Right.
Wow. And so I was the assistant on that project, and then Rick went to another studio to mix,
Wow, how was that?
Mix it.
Be right there with Slick Rick. I mean, I know he wasn't slick when he was then, but
to me,
still, that's Slick Rick.
Yeah, because he already did Lottie Dottie and stuff with Dougie. So I was like, wow, But I was so more, not fan struck, but more so into the technical aspect of it. I was just a fly on the wall, pretty much, just taking it in.
Right.
And so one thing led, from being Jazzy's assistant at the engineering, working with the groups that he's working with and his clients, to me becoming his main engineer at his studio. And then eventually he started, not to fast forward, but a partner started a label called Strong City Records, and I ended up being the main engineer, recording all the artists. And the first group of that label was Masters of Ceremony, which was Grand Poobah's first group. And
wow,
it's kept on growing from there.
Wow. So I mean, you not only get to go to find a school to go to learn everything technically and on paper, but you are definitely hands on and have a front row seat at another whole class where hip hop is being displayed straight up. I mean, like you just said, Slick Rick, Grand Poobah. I mean, come on, man. Now later down the line, of course, Brand Nubian and Tribe and Lord Finesse and De La Soul. I mean, come on, man. Wow.
I know,
wow.
right? Just some slew of them. Q-Tip as well. How did you know Q-Tip?
Well, Q-Tip, I knew his sister before I knew him. What happened, my best friend, his cousins lived in Queens, where Q-Tip and them lived at. So when my best friend used to go to see his cousin out in Queens, I had to go with him. And that's how I met Q-Tip's sister. So my best friend and Q-Tip's sister and Q-Tip's cousin my best friend's cousin who lives in Queens, they all used to hang together. So I ended up joining the crew. We used to hang out together, go bowling, go picnics and stuff. And one day when we went on a picnic, lo and behold, that's when I met Q-Tip. He was about 14, 15 when I first met him.
Oh, wow. So you knew him before he became the artist.
Yeah, I knew before he became an artist. And then when they first formed Tribe, they was just trying to put together a demo, and he asked me, can I set up an audition with Jazzy J, and I did, and they booked a studio, a rehearsal studio, and they went in and they performed for Jazzy. But at that time, you hear Tip's voices, right? It's like very thin. So imagine him as a 14-year-old. You sound like a little chipmunk. and back in those days, remember back in those days, a lot of rappers had a heavy voice, like the Melly Mel.
Yeah, Melly Mel. Yeah.
Kumo D, and even the LLs. Everybody's voice was heavy. So when he heard Tip, he was like, "You sound good, but you just have to, let your voice mature a little more," which his voice never matured. Stayed like that.
Yeah. So Jazzy just wasn't feeling it at that time.
Yeah, he wasn't feeling it because he just felt he wasn't there yet. So fast forward maybe about a year and a half, almost two after that, about 2 years after he was 15, 16, about 2.5 years after that, when they kept on pushing, and they ended up hooking up with Red Alert, which is TJ Red Alert. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Okay.
He's
been on our show before.
Yeah. So
yes, sir.
Red and Jazzy J are cousins too, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
The history
I think he did say. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're cousins.
Yeah, I think he did say that because that's how he got in the game. Go ahead.
Right. So Red ended up taking Tribe underneath his wing and helping them get their situation going and their deal. So, but then after they dropped the first album, I was blown away. Everybody was blown away because that Extinctive Travels album was like, wow. They had everybody like, damn. I was like, damn.
Right. It changed the game.
It really grew. And it changed the game. And I didn't see him since, a few years back. So fast forward, I was working with Brand Nubians on the All For One album. I was in the studio.
Another game changer.
And I'm walking down the hallway, and who I run into? Q-Tip. And he's like, what you doing here? I'm like, I'm working Brand Nubian. And so then he told me he's starting the second album, which is the Law and Theory album. And he's like, if I can help him on the album. I was like, no problem. Tell me when you want me to be there, I'll be there. And the rest is history.
Hey, I just want to interject with this because this tripped me out today. I was doing some research, and I looked up. The Low End Theory is the album. That's the second album. That's the one with all the faces on the cover, right?
Yes.
Is that the Low End Theory one? Yeah. You know what?
Yes.
Today I was just happened to be looking, and I've seen that cover a million times since back in the day, right? But I guess I really just looked closely today when I was doing some research, and I'm really seeing the faces. I guess I didn't pay attention to the faces on there, but I'm looking today at the faces, and I'm like, wow. You know, I see Puffy on there. I see this cat. That, I mean, everybody on there was somebody. I just didn't, I guess, know that back in the day. Especially I wouldn't have probably known Puffy then, but that was the trip to see that album cover. It's real distinctive. You know what I mean? Once I really looked at it.
Right.
That Tribe album.
And a lot of people on that album nowadays, you know, legends, or that they have done, you know, on their own.
But that time they weren't
impact.
though. But it was just. But now you look at it, it's like, wow, that again makes Tribe ahead of their time. You know, again that because that album was classic. But just to see the cover as well, that's crazy. Right. But go ahead, sir. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. So yeah, like I said, you know, with Tribe, that was pretty much the beginning of, you know, just having fun. Because back then, creating for me, you know, and for them, was fun. It was not about the business. It wasn't about, we going out there and try to sell 1 million records. No, it was just making music and having fun. And you can feel it in the music.
Right. And let me ask you this. Did you know at that time when you guys were making that album, because again, I said at the beginning that was a game changer, as well as Brand Nubian, who you worked on, but you know, Tribe really set the mark and foundation of the different era once hip-hop, you know, changed to be different. You know, like you just mentioned, Kumo, DLL, the machoism of hip-hop. Tribe introduced a new era, you know what I mean, which they did to even now. It trends all the way down to Kanye West. You know, people they inspired, but that was a new era in hip hop, and you were right there for the birth of that as well. Do you know when you were making that album with them that this was a game changer?
No, because like I was told you from the time I was a kid, it's just a way of life. That was just our lives.
Right.
It was nothing. It was all organic. It was just you get like. The average kid would get up. I'm going to the park to play basketball. I'm going to sit down my book and draw something. Today I'm going to play video games. You know, you just living life. Back then that was just us living life. That's who we was, living our life. It was nothing. Everything was organic.
Right. Wow. Yeah. And I mean, and then on top of that, the album not only again that becomes a classic album and blew up and took Tribe to a different level as well. And you being a part of that. I mean, how did that have you? You seem like a modest type of guy, so I'm sure it didn't blow your socks off or anything. But how did it feel just to be a part of now just classic material? Not only the people you were around and producing and engineering, but now you're birthing new stars and people in hip hop as well that you're a part of. How does that have you? Yeah, how did that have you feel at this time?
It makes me feel very humble and very appreciative, and I think after all the years. It didn't really kick in. I mean, I have a younger brother. He's like 16, maybe like 18 years younger than me. And for some reason, he's the one. He keeps reminding me the impact. Because I'm just going through it, and he's like, "Skeff, stop it." You know, this. Germany, this. I was like, I'm just. I don't know. I think what really woke me up and showed me the true impact. One day, my wife and her godchildren, we took a trip out to D.C., and we went to the African American Museum in D.C. Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah, you know the African American Museum in D.C.?
Yes.
I've heard about it.
Yeah,
I haven't been, but I've heard about it. Yes.
The Smithsonian African Museum. That sucker is huge. It's big. Whenever you all get a chance, go to that museum. It is powerful. So, and this thing it's a big building. It's big. So we get into the museum, and it's a museum that you can't do in one day. It has to be like a week.
Oh wow!
It's so much stuff in there. It's a week. So we went to the music section. The flow of we flew through it, but then we went to the music section where they show black music, and then they had a section for hip hop, and the kids, my wife's godchildren, when we got into the section, for some reason, in the hip hop section, on the walls, they're showing everybody the clothing that all the old rap acts, they donated their, the clothing and jewelry and stuff that they used to wear, and turntables and equipment.
Right.
The same way, like, the rock music, you see stuff from R&B, and Prince and everybody. But the kids have a big desk. It's like a big touchscreen desk. And you can touch it, and you can flip through all the different album covers of hip-hop.
Right. Oh,
and
okay.
And as they're flipping through it, they was like, hey, they got one of your albums. I was like, what? Yeah, look. Yay, they go another one of your albums. And I think,
wow.
And then right behind that desk, there was it looks like a record bin. It actually is like a record bin.
Right.
They have album covers there, but they have it like in, laminated to wood. But it looks like album cover. You go into album cover. And they have my stuff in there too. And I'm like, I think that's when it really sunk in for me, because I started in the museum from downstairs, just appreciating, our culture, from black soldier history to slavery to everything about the black culture. And, and then to get upstairs and see this in this museum, and my work was in the museum, I think that's when it really sunk in for me.
And what year was that?
When we went over there, it was like
when you
2 years ago. But it's still up there. If you go up there, it's still in there.
Yeah, I was just like, you said that's when it sunk in for you, just 2 years ago, when it really, you realized, like, the impact.
That's when, I went to concerts. I've done tours in the beginning with Tribe, because I did a live sound for them when we did a promotional tour for Law and Theory and Midnight Marauders. And I've did shows with people, when they did their shows, and watching people react to the music. I got a rush out of that. I definitely got a rush. But for them, as the years went on, when they did the last tour before Five passed away, and I would go online and look at 30,000, 40,000 people jumping up, that's another time it sunk in for me. So the impact. Yeah. And when they were traveling, go to Europe and do all those big festivals, I'm like, this is big. This is really, really big. But like I said, the museum, for some reason, I guess the museum, because of all our culture in the museum, because I was so blown away by the rest of the culture in the museum, that to see my work in that museum is when it really sunk in for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
A humbling experience, huh?
Very humbling. Very humbling. And like I said, I've always been that type of person.
You can tell that you're very humble.
Yeah, very humble guy.
Yeah, and all the interviews, just from doing the research as well, and seeing you on on interviews, I said to myself, man, this is a humbling spirit right here. So yeah. Yeah.
And a classic man, like the guy had the song "Classic Man." You wouldn't think you're the average hip hop guy. You know what I mean? You just wouldn't. Yeah, you know what I mean. I think that's a beautiful thing, man. You don't know what's coming, or you wouldn't know what to know if you just seen you on the streets, and now you have a conversation with Skeff, and you just like blown away because you don't know everything you have, inside of you, this whole history that you have. You just probably wouldn't know that. Your average youngster hip hopper or whatever wouldn't know that, about you. So I'm definitely glad that we have this conversation with you tonight, man, to get all of these jewels and this knowledge of Mr. Skeff tonight, man. Thank you, brother. It's an honor, man. It's an honor to have a guy of your stature here tonight, man. Humble guy, man, with a lot of knowledge, and can help us, even help me, with some of the things and some of the jewels you have to share with us. So we definitely appreciate you. What was I gonna? Oh, okay, I want to ask you this: the tribes with Brand Indians and these people, De La Soul, whole native tongue pretty much movement. But what is some of your work that you're the most I'm gonna say proud of. I'm sure you're proud of all of it. But what are some of the best sessions or memorable that you remember or appreciate, or or like the most that you've done, or people you've worked with?
I think one of the best I love working with was Heavy D.
Rest in power.
Yeah, I worked with Hev, and
Mm-hmm.
you talk about beautiful spirit. You talk about humbling for somebody who's just a big person, not just in physical, but also in stature
He
and
was big.
also in
Hev
his
was
career.
big.
Yeah, he was a warm dude that he was really, really cool working with. And the funny thing, you mentioned Puff. Puff got me to work with Hev. And
okay.
Back then, Puff was like, yeah, do that. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. I'm like, yo, and I told Hev, I said, Hev, tell Puff,
get your boy.
Get your boy, because at the end of the day, I was like, you don't need me. If he's going to produce it, let him do it. You don't need me. I mean,
right.
At the end of the day, he's like,
right. Take that.
Yeah, he kicked him out. He said, "You're gonna have to leave." But Heb was beautiful dude.
Rest
who
in
else?
peace to Heb.
There was, Heb. There's so many.
Who are some of the artists you would like to work with today if you had the opportunity?
Ooh, Kendrick.
My favorite. Okay.
J. Cole.
Yeah, two dope lyricists. Good choices.
That's right up his alley. He's used to to these type of cats.
Yeah.
Because hip hop, just like you said, hip hop right now is not a lot you can say like artists you just mentioned that you could probably go down the list of, because there's a lot of other stuff and a lot of saturation.
Right.
But those are great artists, and those are right up your alley, being the resume you come from, and those I'm sure those guys, the people you work with, inspired them. Even though they're younger, they definitely I'm sure were somewhere inspired by Tribe or some of these guys. You know what I mean? To do the music that they do.
Right.
I'm sure of it.
But there's some young cats out here. I like to go. A lot of cats out there, they can spit. They got some lyrics, but the thing is they gotta hold back. Because of what the market is nowadays. It's like the kids nowadays, the attention span is too. So it's like you can't give them too much food one time a day. You're going to, a teaspoon at a time.
At a time,
right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other young cats I would like to work with.
Hey, let me throw this out there since Queen mentioned this, the newer cats and cats of today, because I did hear you mention this in something previous, but I wanted to expound. I want to just speak about it now while I'm thinking about it before we get into other things. But our younger brother that is no longer here, Nipsey Hussle, I heard you speak about him, that you were listening to his stuff when he dropped it, and you respected him, what he did, and you would like to work with him. What can you say about that cat and what you knew about Nip, and what you appreciated about him? I didn't know Nip.
Yeah, I didn't know him personally at all. I was just a fan. I was just a fan of Nip and his grind and the things he was doing. And his give back to his community. That the whole package. He was a beautiful person in that sense, and that package is that's the type of energy I'm attracted to.
Right, and the only reason I spoke on it because I noticed when you did this interview, Nip was still alive. So it wasn't like you were speaking on him like maybe a lot of people who got put on to him later. I know you respected him while he was here and would have liked to work with him. So that's why I asked you that, because obviously you were hip to him, before his passing.
Yes, I was.
Yeah,
and there's another thing, like I said, my brother, sometimes we go back and forth. Like he'll bring up to my attention new artists, because there's so much artists nowadays, man. It's us. You can't keep track.
Yeah.
It's so much. So once in a while, my brother would be like, "Yo, check this person out. Check that one out. Check this one out." But and then on my own, I try to keep my ear open and check artists out myself.
Right.
But it's so saturated out there. For real.
Yeah, it is these days. It is. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I just want to speak on Nip. Rest in peace, King. Go ahead, Queen.
Oh, I just wanted to ask you, how did you come about that track, the one standout, show business, the one that stands out mostly on that whole Low End Theory album?
You think
that
so?
happened to me. Yeah, I was listening to the cuts today because after I got off the phone with you, I was listening to most of the cuts, and yeah, I like that one. So how did you guys come about that? That's with Brand Nubian and Diamond D, right? They are also on that.
Yeah, they featured on that song. And the thing is, since as you know, I worked with Brand Nubians, and I went to Tip. I'm like, when we do a song, you guys do a song together with Brand Nubians, and he was like, no problem. There was no hesitant. He was like, okay, when can we do it? So
okay,
I set it up at Jazzy Studio first, and got him recording over there, and then eventually going to a main studio where they record the whole album, which was Battery Studio, a bigger studio, and we redid the song there, and then Diamond wasn't supposed to be on the song. It was supposed to be Grand Poobah. It was a brand Nubian thing. So I set up a couple of sessions. He was a no-show. So eventually Tip's like, yo, you mind if I put Diamond on there? I'm like, Diamond is family. Why not?
Right.
Diamond started with Jazzy and myself as well.
Right. Shout out to Diamond D. Digging in the crate.
Yeah, that's right. And that's another. You talk about all the crews I'm affiliated with. Digging in the Crates was another one.
That's right. Hey, let me throw this in there since you mentioned Digging in the Crates, and I know this cat here at this time. He was a youngster, but he was a part of it. Were you familiar? Did you were able to know Fat Joe at that time? I'm sure when he was a youngster coming up.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I didn't know him. Growing up, I know him from the studio because Diamond.
Just being a.
Yeah, the studio.
Sure,
the studio when he
familiar
first.
with him.
Before he even got his deal, he used to hang out with Diamond and Showbiz. Used to bring him to the studio. And that's how I got to meet Joe.
Okay, that's what's up. Yeah, I was just mentioning Digging in the legendary DITC crew. So we had to throw that in there. Respect. Go ahead though. Go ahead. I'll just be cutting people off. When you mention certain people, I got to get that history. While we're on the subject, I got to try to get that in. Yeah, because this is history tonight. It's a lot of jewels he's dropping in here. The people are keeping up, so I got to get mine in. If I hear something. I'm a student of this game. I'm a student, Skeff. You feel me? So, but go ahead, Quinn.
And I'm a beginner in the game, Skeff, so I'm still learning the game. But listen, I have
older
a
than
grandson.
all of us, but we're gonna hip her to the game. She's more like GQ and all that type. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness. My grandson goes to the University of Full Sail because that's what he wanted to start in doing engineering. What advice would you can give me to get to him? Because now he's talking about changing his major from engineering to, I think it's showroom. But he doesn't want to do engineering anymore. He's like flip-flopping. What advice can you give me to get to him to kind of like at least try to stay there a little longer? Because I'm looking at where engineering to producer, where you are now. Is there any advice?
You said showroom?
Yeah, I believe my daughter. He's going to school for engineering at the University of Full Sail in Florida, but he's thinking about switching up.
To what?
Showroom, like being on the stage and moving, setting up stage. I guess that's what it is. Setting the stage up.
I understand. Being
because that's a big difference, right? From engineering
it is a big difference because the thing is, doing that is like pretty much say, okay, I'm gonna move to New York and work on Broadway, or doing Broadway shows, setting up the sound stage. He wants to do sound stage, and the only thing with the engineering, I gotta say, it's a freelance thing, and then unless you get your own home studio and you have a big clientele, so you constantly have cash flow coming, it's a hustle.
Yeah.
Engineering,
okay.
I think one thing, if I can change my life and things that I would do, I probably would have been. But the thing is, I'm contradicting myself because I was saying if I could have been working and engineering and producing at the same time, I would have did that. But then when I went on tour, and those experiences is priceless. Back in the day, it was priceless.
Yep.
So would I change it? The price was that it set me back, because once you start having children, we're talking about a career and income, so it can set you back, because living on the road or living out of the studio, as you get older, that's when the benefits that's when the thing change. When you were young, I think engineering is a young person's game.
Okay.
For the first, 10, maybe 10, if you start out at like 18, so give yourself like 20 years in the business, because everybody that I know that was an engineer professionally, you name a hit record, most of them after 20 years in the business or so, they end up moving on because you get burnt out. And also when it comes to trying to make a living, and you talking about medical benefits now as you're getting older, there's no holiday pay, there's no vacation pay, there's no none of that.
That's more
stuff.
Just like a work for hire type thing. That's like a work for hire, and then it's no. And you get, like you said, you're in probably some legendary sessions and engineering for the greatest people, but there's no type of creativity, like suppose a producer you're creating. You're just there for a session, and just pushing buttons and making sure that
Well, if you're a producer and you got royalties and you got publishing,
right?
Because that's what I grew up. I stopped engineering and caught the bug with producing. And I thank God I did that, because at the end of the day, as the years went on, then I was getting publishing and royalty checks.
Mm-hmm.
As an engineer, you don't see none of that. You only get your flat pay, and that's it.
But tell them on the flip side to learn to be an engineer, though, is priceless as well, because if you know how to engineer, now you could take that to other fields, or if you have your own production company, you can engineer, or engineering is a big part of the game. Don't get it twisted. But like you said, just being an engineer is no future, but it's good to have that under your belt and know how to engineer.
Exactly. Well. That was my next line. That's the next thing I was getting ready to say. I would still say do the engineering, follow on the engineering side if that's your passion, and have it underneath your belt, because nobody say you can't multitask. Nobody say you can't do that and then find something else. And,
right.
You can do both, and that's my point, is that your son is not going to go on the road doing touring right now. Is at the end of the day is that he can still do engineering and also look into something else that's going to make sure that his retirement is in place, his medical, everything else is in place. One day he may be a dad. His kids got, medical benefits and all that stuff, because that's been in the music industry. That's been the biggest struggle for artists and engineers. People fall sick, they have no medical. People, getting sick, they're having a fundraiser or a GoMe fund to raise money for artists and engineers. I'm seeing on social media. I'm like, wow. Trying to raise money.
Yeah, that is a big wow.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, I'm like, thank God, I'm in the work world now, but now I'm going back to my music. Because God gave me that gift, nobody can take that away from me. So now I'm working on new music now. On the last 4th of July, I released, a song and a video. For the new year coming out, I'm releasing another song and a video. So you don't have to stop. You can still keep doing your music. But the thing is, always have the other outlet. It could be other things, whatever that thing is for the individual. You just have to find what other things you can get into to bring an additional a cushion to protect you going forward. It's only that I can recommend for,
I'm glad
for your
you
son.
broke that down. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah. He's only 20, so he got a long way to go. But that's some good advice that I can pass on to him. Yeah.
Yes. Definitely.
I want to interview Veen quickly. I want to ask you, because whenever we jump into something else, I just want to piggyback off of it while I'm thinking about it. But you spoke on, like she just says, the newer generation of artists. Like you just spoke on earlier, you have certain artists who are conscious, the Kendricks and Jays, but on the flip side, we have a whole slew of young artists right now, young men who, where hip hop is right now. The what's going on in hip hop, what hip hop stands for, the mainstream. We always know the mainstream is the mainstream, but we see the most popular music and the popularity in hip hop is kind of where it is right now. It's kind of monotone. It's the same. It's not a lot of creativity and things. And like you said, I think you mentioned earlier that it probably is artists out there that are creative and want to do different stuff, but what they know they have to do to get heard and stuff, they may have to dumb their stuff down. And then you fast forward to all the violence and kind of negativity, which is always there. I grew up off of it as well. But right now it just seems to be on a whole different level, even where today we have another young rapper that was murdered, that was on the rise, a young man. So what do you feel about the current state of hip-hop right now?
The current state of hip-hop is, I say about 75% of it is sad. The other 25, the sad part is the part that we have a generation of kids growing up just strictly materialistic. And also the violence that's going on in our streets, it's off the chain. It's just too much.
Yeah, it's off the.
I blame rap for that. I'm not going to say hip hop. I'm going to blame rap for that in our culture.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, these kids is living what they know in their neighborhoods. Yeah, it's glorified. So at the end of the day, I wouldn't have saw. I mean, I remember when it first started, and it didn't start. It started on the West Coast. As much as I loved a lot of music from the West Coast, but the violent part of it started up, from the West Coast, and then other places start following suit, because it was.
But
on record.
It was, and let me speak on that because it did, but again, the West Coast was like speaking on kind of all they knew. You know what I mean? It's like it was gangs in L.A., which no other part of the country witnessed or grew up like that. Where you fast forward now, it's like even somewhere like New York, I'm sure you never would have thought you see today is gang Crips and Bloods in New York and stuff like that, because New York was definitely against that, just like you just spoke on now. And now you see that going on in your backyard. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I see what
something has to start somewhere, and then it just grew around the country, and to watch it grow, at the end of the day, all you can do is shake your head. Just like how we started the conversation. He was like, growing up in the Bronx, this is all you knew about the Bronx back in the 70s and the violence and blah, blah, blah. But then to see that, hip-hop wasn't that back, as a kid, for me growing up wasn't that, to see what it became, it, to me, it's heartbreaking, and I just pray that at some point that it will, enlighten itself to a certain extent. And get better, But at the end of the day, hip hop. But what also brings me back to reality and the facts is that hip hop is not hip hop. I keep saying hip hop. Yeah, let's go with hip hop. Hip hop was always a youth-driven art form. It was never as you get mature and older when you start knowing better what right from wrong.
Right.
So it was always the youth movement. That's why, I do not want to come across sounding like when we was kids, our parents used to say something, about the music, when we was listening to music, and they were saying, what the heck you listening to? What they talking about? Blah, blah, blah. I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
I still respect, not to contradict myself, but I want hip hop to be what it is. But still, you still got to monitor and own your contribution, negative, positive, or whatever. You got to own it. If you knew what you said, what you did, started a fire in the room because you said fire and everybody ran out the room. You got to own it.
Right.
Period. You got to own it.
That's deep. That's deep.
But in the rest of there's enough also artists out there that makes me, dance in the house when I'm playing music or make me want to create. There's artists still out there that when I play it, because the music sounds more happier to me. It makes you want to dance.
Mm-hmm.
So as I hear something like that, I turn on the equipment because it motivates me. And that's, at my age, I'm still creating music and I'm getting ready to put out new stuff. Is because there's music that's motivating me. If the day music's that type, hip hop stop motivating me, that's when I think it's probably this. With me anyway, I'm segueing. My style is not hip hop no more. So with the new stuff you're getting ready to hear, you're gonna hear that my new single coming out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hip hop feel bass track, but the lyric is today's what the kids are doing today, along with an Afro pop artist on it. So you're gonna get American artists with a Nigerian artist on my next single.
Yeah, I like your song by African Border.
Mm-hmm.
Did I say that right? Yeah, I like that video. When I seen that today, so that's pretty dope too. He's pretty dope.
Jamalski.
Yes, that one right there. Because I like reggae music as well.
You're right. So I think this new single, you will like this one coming out. There's two brothers, so you can go on YouTube and check them out. One is Keith Lawson. This is his song featuring Mr. Bello, Bello, Mr. Bello. He's from Nigeria. So I'm doing a song. This is Keith Lawson featuring Mr. Bello, but it's really Skeff Anselm featuring Keith Lawson and Mr. Bello. So that's going to be the next song. But then I got some hip hop stuff.
So you got these songs. So it's Skeff. Is it you featured on here, or is it just you producing new artists, or are you featured on there as well? And if you are, what are you doing on the? Okay.
It's just production. It's like marketing wise. It seems like that's what everybody do nowadays. DJ Khaled featuring.
Right. I got you. Okay. I just want to make sure. I was going to look for you on there at the bars. I said, well, I need to find. Let me hear Skeff on here spitting 16. So I just want to make sure, that's all.
No bars.
Just production.
Having a drink at the bar, maybe, but no bars.
Just production. Producing. Hey, well, Queen, tell us about this song you wanted to hear, Queen, that he produced.
It's called Wi-Fi featuring Rouge. I listened to that today and also checked out the video, so it was pretty dope to me, especially with the title being Wi-Fi. You have to really listen to what she's speaking on when she's speaking on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so please share that with everybody, y'all. Wi-Fi.
Let me play this right. Hold up. Let me play this right quick, Skeff.
Mhm.
Turn me on like Wi-Fi. 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 Looking just like a honey dip when the sun's out. Watch the honey drip. If it's inside, then we zip. No, it's pre-roll. Hit a flick. Fire blade burning incense. Don't want it if it ain't medicine. Every
Big Snow. You know I done took you to the mountaintop, but don't trip. Let's go where they doing it at. The G-Lew Show. Flashback Friday.
You're back live at the G-Lew Show, Flashback Fridays with our special guest, Skeff, Big Skeff Anselm. And I got the lovely Miss Queen Jean with me. We are back. And the phone lines are open as well if you want to call, if you want to ask Skeff any questions or just want to give him a shout out. The phone lines are open, 914-803-4001. Press 1 if you want to speak. Shout out again to our sponsors, BTP Media Group, 93 Tweed FMism. Lovely Miss Dee Dee Harrison, Westside Car Club, Skip Towing, and the Ladies of Football League, GGLewShow.com. And we are back. What's up, Skeff?
What's up, y'all?
So that song,
yeah, man,
it really deals with the reality of, because, I mean, everything now runs off of Wi-Fi, so.
Mm-hmm.
So, what inspired that besides that?
Pretty much, Rouge, she just dropped it like that. The funny thing, originally I did that track I was trying to place it out with some British brothers out in London. Because when I first did that track, I was feeling the style they was doing out there. So when that didn't manifest itself, when my brother brought Rouge to me and I listened to, she sent me stuff that she did in the past. And I listened to one of her songs. I was like, hey, that is what, the person I'm looking for this track. And I gave it to her, and she came back with Wi-Fi, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Well, I actually like it myself, so that's why I was like, I want to hear that tonight. Yes. In the video. So, yeah. They would have to go to YouTube, your YouTube channel, to check the video out.
Yeah, go to Skeff Anselm.
Yeah, the video is crazy. The video is crazy. I looked at it, too. That video is crazy. Yeah. Shout out to Rouge. Yeah, it's real crazy. Shout out to Rouge.
Rouge.
So, Rouge. So, Skeff, tell us what's going on right now. I know what's going on right now. 2020 kind of hit us kind of sideways, and kind of knocked everything loose for a minute. So we're waiting to tighten things back up. But, besides that, tell us what's going on. What got you back into music? I'm sure you're obviously working with a lot of different artists and, expanding your horizon. But tell us what can we expect, what's coming up here with Skeff that we can look forward to.
Well, I've it's going almost a year. I said I was going to do a Skeff Anselm album because I've never done a whole project, by myself. The whole project's produced by myself. So I said, before, I don't know, tomorrow's not promised to none of us. So I said, let me just do this. It's supposed to be just a one-off, and that's it. Just do it one time.
Right.
At first I was, said, let me start reaching out to some of the older cats, to put them on this project. But for some reason it wasn't going down that way. So I said, something. The same way when all of them, I was there in the beginning of their careers when everybody was just, coming up, and I was part of that. Why don't I just duplicate that, do it again? Start with a bunch of young artists, upcoming artists, and just try to create and put together, a decent project and let it, forward. And so that's what I'm in the process of doing, working on a Skeff Anselm project.
Excited to hear that when it comes out.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Skeff. What do you feel about how not only just hip hop or whatever, how the music game is, but how do you feel from a standpoint of how music has turned to where now Well, I'm sure it's a good and a bad of this, especially you coming from the beginning. But how do you feel about how music is put out now, distributed, and how, you know, you don't really need the middlemans or the bigger labels, and you can work with new artists and kind of do things more so on your own? How do you like that part of where the music business has gone, good or bad?
I don't think it's bad. I think it's good. The only thing is, right now, music is, like I was saying earlier, it's like fast food. So everybody can create a project in microwave. They can create a project in their bedroom and just drop it on the internet, and that's it. But the thing is, the hardest thing is getting it to the masses, so letting people know it. People think because you just throw it out on social media, everybody know about it. They don't, and that's what the difference between having that machine behind you. By having that machine behind you, everybody gets to know about you. But at the end of the day, when you're doing it yourself, you still got to come out of your pocket. You still got to let you got to get a publicist who's going to work the project and let people know this project exists. Because otherwise, it'd be just another project just thrown out there that people may not even know about. Because it can happen to me too. It can happen to anybody. Because I mean, in the last 10 years, people that has a name has been. When I look at social media, everybody dropping an album, they dropping an album. But then when you sit back, a lot of people haven't heard the project. You know, and the thing is, the older artists, because they have their following that came up with them, they will probably turn over and purchase the project because that's their fan base. But to say, are you going to take on any new fans? I don't think they will grab any new fans unless somebody's pops say, "Oh, this is what I do. Dude, I came up to, son. Check him out." And sometimes the same thing with my sons when I play. They're not up on the older artists. So when I bring it up to their attention, then they start doing their own research and learning more about the older artists, and they be like, "Yo, Pop, I like. This sounds better than what I'm hearing now." So it's a matter of educating them. Or not. So that's it.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Go ahead, Queen.
Oh, I actually don't have any more questions other than what are the pros and cons that you see of today versus back in the day when you started out in the industry?
The pros is that you had the pros was that you had less artists out back then, so the consumer had a lot more to less to choose from, but also gave them time to digest it. Where nowadays it's so saturated that the consumer doesn't get time to digest the music. It's like it comes and it goes. Before you blink, there's something else that's coming. So, which is to me is that the longevity of it is going to die out sooner than where back then songs lasted. You can play the song lasted 10, 20 years and you're still playing the song. Maybe I might be wrong. Maybe the song, unless you're a Drake.
No, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Right. Very few.
Unless like you're your main act like Drake or who, people in that stature, the generation is going to grow up with that music. So yes, in 20 years, that's what they're going to know. But there's a lot of songs because it's so saturated. There's a lot of songs that's just going to go by the wayside. It's going to disappear.
Now you just mentioned Draco.
Yeah.
No, Drake.
Drake. Okay.
Drake.
I thought you said Draco because there is an artist named Draco. So that's why I thought you said Draco.
No.
And let me ask you this: when you transitioned from engineering to producing, what was the biggest pro or con to that transitioning from engineering to producing?
More money.
Just straight up, huh? More money.
More money. A lot more money.
Lots more money, huh?
A lot more money. back then.
So I'm gonna make sure I tell my grandson that.
A lot more money. I mean, nowadays producers is not making money like we was making back in those days, because you don't have, that was the labels was giving out that type of money, but you're not getting that type of money, and producers are not going to see the money in the front like that we were seeing back then. They will see the money in the back end, but even in the back end, for you to back then, if you sold 100,000 records, you sold 100,000 records. Today, you stream 100,000. You're not even getting half the money because there's a big difference in the returns. But the thing is also, it costs more to produce a record back then than now. Because now you just go from the products straight to streaming. Back then, you was pressing up. You had a pressing plant. You had CDs. So but still, there was more. I think there was more money coming back then than now, because most artists, they make their money off of shows, not from sales of the music.
Okay, some more money.
Yeah, that's deep. A lot more money. Hey, I want to ask you, Skeff. Speaking on that, like you just said, how the hip hop is, how the game is now, where it's going, kind of all over the place. Where do you see the future for hip hop? Because I think about this sometimes, even though I'm not saying it, because hip hop is quote unquote the number one genre right now. So I don't want to take that away. Hip hop is the number one genre. But like you just said, how the way it's going right now and how it's just slowly getting away from as far as a hip hop perspective and what the foundation of it was. Sometimes I wonder and hope that it doesn't get away from us, because now even you see. And I mean, not to say anybody can do hip hop, wherever you're from, whatever nationality, whatever. But it's slowly just getting farther and farther away into a pop kind of element, and to where it just, as far as a hip hop standpoint, So what do you see the future for hip hop? Do you see us getting a grasp on it and maybe bringing it back, or do you see it just slipping away more and more to where how they did other genres, jazz and rock, where it's just it's over here now?
No, I think it's going to have, for some reason, hip-hop is a rare thing, man. Hip-hop is like no other music. The difference between hip-hop and other music is because hip-hop is cultural, and hip-hop is a youth thing. So the youth, hip-hop always from the beginning was always a rebel music from the youth.
Right.
So from the beginning of time till the end of time, youth will always be rebels in their own little way, and they want to express themselves in any little way. And hip-hop is that platform. So that's why I don't think hip-hop will ever die. It's going to keep manifesting itself and changing itself, as you've been seeing, but hip-hop will never die. But I don't think it's going to die.
Nah, but I mean, obviously, because it hasn't. But what I mean as far as, being, how we come from which really was considered hip-hop. Now what they kind of say hip-hop is not that, because, and I only say that, again, not to take away from the youngsters, because it's the number one genre, but I'm just saying the foundations and what hip-hop was built on. I think we've gotten farther away from that to where, the youngsters that do hip-hop now, quote-unquote, they don't even really know. Like, if you ask them what hip-hop is, they don't know. They just rap.
They don't know their history.
That's what
they
I'm
haven't
saying.
done their history. They don't know the culture, the true culture and the history behind it.
Right.
Sadly to say, that's the kids nowadays. Like, I'm saying, everything is fast food. It's like the history of hip hop is fast food for them. They're not really, unfortunately, in every other genre of music, if a kid is getting into country music, rock and roll, they listen to the old stuff, and that's what inspires them to be, creators. I do agree with you that hip hop is pop music now, because at the end of the day, hip hop's DNA, as much as the other cultures fight to not have it come in, they couldn't. As you know, they can't stop it. Country, rock,
right.
Afrobeat in African music, in Caribbean music, they borrow, and plus they borrow from each other. They go back and forth. you know. But at the end of the day, it's definitely it's the machine now behind music, and I never would have thought
machine driven,
hip-hop,
machine driven.
Yeah, but no, I never thought it would have been the influence it has on other genre of music, because it's in the beginning it was the other way around. Other genre of music is what influenced hip hop, because it started with the DJs playing. I got started with Africa Bambaataa. Africa Bambaataa, they used to call him the master of records. The reason they call him the master of records because unlike Flash and Herc and all other DJs back in those days, they played break beats and disco and stuff. Bam would play country music with a break beat. Bam would play some music from Russia with a break beat. And everybody's like, what the hell is he playing? He would play commercials. Why is he playing a commercial? And then he'll drop a break beat underneath it. So he was like one of the first to take different genre from you. If you look at all the beats that we used to sample from back in the days, it's folk music, it's country music, it's jazz. It's not just jazz and R&B. It's all kind of, the break beats come from all, you know, the genres of music. So that in the beginning, that music, that much sampling from those different genres of music influenced hip hop. And now hip hop is giving back to those music it was sampling from the beginning. It's going back, creativity-wise, to the music that we sample from.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you are right. It is pop. It's popular, and it's popular for other. It has influenced other genre of music. It's like it gave back to what gave. You know, it birthed it. You know, genre of music birthed hip hop.
Rebirthed it.
Yeah.
One more thing
Pretty
on the
much.
hip hop thing, I want to ask you. Just like I said, how it's become pop. Another thing I want to ask you is my problem with what is considered hip hop now as well is that back when you know, hip hop was doing what it did, even like you spoke on L.A. You know, where we grew up, and how, you know, they changed the game and did the, you know, the gangster rap, okay, quote unquote, because that's what was going on. And then you had coming out of Houston, Texas, the Ghetto Boys. It introduced us to a whole new sound. Then you had in Florida, Luke, Two Live Crew, whole new sound to introduce us to. Then you had this place, you know, the DC, the Go-Go, Chicago
Go-Go
House, or whatever, you know, introduce sounds. Now you have whereas hip-hop is that, and that was what you loved about hip-hop, because you can get that. You can say, okay, I know what's going on in Houston because I heard the Ghetto Boy. I know what's going on in L.A. because I heard Ice Cube. I know what's going on in New York, Bambaataa, Soul Sonic, all the way to Brand Nubian. Now it's just like, you don't know who is. You want to hear some L.A. music, you don't know if that guy's from L.A. or Atlanta. Same as D.C. or even in New York, they sound like somebody from Atlanta. So that's another problem. Not to get on hip hop, but things of this nature is what I'm talking about. Is to where hip hop is getting away because it's not not exclusive anymore. Ordinary. Where you have somebody can tell the difference. You knew that's what hip hop was too. You can get information about Texas or Virginia because you heard their rappers. Now you don't know who they are because they sound like the other dudes.
You're right. You're right. The thing is, everybody's sounding, they're cloning each other right now. Everybody's the clones, and even though before, when you go back, even let's just stick with the New York market for 1 second.
Okay.
You could have 10 artists from the New York market and nobody sounded alike.
Exactly. You knew who was from Brooklyn.
You knew who was who.
Who was from Queens.
But even though,
like the Bronx, Wu-Tang was from Staten Island, you still can differentiate.
Everybody had a different style. Nobody sounded the same. Everybody had a different style. And like I agree with you. The thing is, that's part of what I was talking about in reference to the saturation, where everybody's sounding the same and you can't tell the difference. But in a sense, that is going to be part of what's going to hurt hip hop. Is that when you have 20 artists who sound the same and you can't tell who the 12 babies are.
Right.
At the end, but I mean, maybe the kids know who the kids nowadays probably.
Yeah, the kids know. They know.
They know.
But I'm just saying they don't know. They know, but they don't know that that's not cool. Like everybody should not sound the same. That's what they don't know. They know who everybody is, but they need to know that you need to have some originality. You know what I mean? That's what made hip hop. Originality.
So that's why
that was you could
brothers,
not sound like the next man. That was one of the rules in hip hop. You definitely could not sound like somebody else or bite somebody else, or you would not make it.
Well, that's what I hope you and my sister is going to educate them with the platform you guys have. You know, hopefully you can educate them. You know, just keep trying, don't stop. You know, because at the end of the day, if with our brothers and sisters like you guys, educating the youth, it will totally disappear. It will be just but I don't know. Let's come back here in 20 years. Let's see what it was it doing. Let's see if it's going. Let's see if it's still here. God willing.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
That's right.
I remember this conversation. Hopefully all of us will be here, and hopefully in 20 years, I'd love to have this conversation again and just to reflect back on this time and see, just for good old sake, see where it's at. Just,
That's what's up. That's what's up, because we had real conversation tonight. I really enjoyed this conversation, Skeff. You know what I mean? It's supposed to go as an interview, but me and Queen like to call it conversation, not an interview. So I think we had a great conversation and dialogue tonight, man, and learned a lot about yourself, and we all learned something from each other as well, and was able to learn the people some things as well. Just open dialogue about hip hop and music in general. So I thank you, Skeff, for taking out the time tonight to join us, man. It was really a jewel.
Thank you for blessing us with your presence.
Definitely gonna get down to that museum too.
Yeah, it's definitely a family trip too. Take your family to you guys when this COVID thing kick over, and check it out. It's definitely an educational experience, and I stress it because that's what my wife is. She's going back to school for that. The museums and educating the masses about life and other things in the museums. So it's rubbing off on me. So it's definitely good, especially for the younger generation, kids, your family, grandkids, nieces, nephews, whatever. It's a good family trip too. You guys get out to DC and check it out.
Right. Hey, and let me mention this. Speaking on DC, I don't mean to get political and all that. We're not here for that. But speaking on DC, right now, we got a situation going on. What do you think about the outcome of all this? What's going to happen maybe tomorrow, the next day, and moving forward with this so-called United States of America we live in, and what the future will be moving forward? The outcome of all this.
The outcome of this is that I'm glad it happened. I'm glad Trump was president. And let me explain why I'm glad he was president. Because it woke country up and it woke the world up to let you know how much of a hypocrite
really going on
America is, and how much of a fake America. Everything is fine. Everything is we knew black
you're right.
Was going on because we was living
it up. Right, but it really, because we had Obama, and we got to witness, of course, that woke everybody up too, because everybody seemed to hate Obama so much, even though he was a good guy. Aside from politics, he was a stand-up guy, but they hated him so much. It's like, wow. But now with this Trump thing, this really has woken us up, because Trump was able to wake up the America we did not know, as well. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
This
but
real,
also what he did, he ended up showing the world how much of a hypocrite America is, because for generations they was preaching to other countries about telling them what they're doing wrong. The Middle East and and other places in Latin America, you doing this and you doing that, and you guys. But meanwhile, you're not even looking at the stuff that you're doing in your own country. At the end of the day, thank you again, Mr. Trump and fellow 40 million people, for showing the rest of the world who you are.
Right.
And we needed this. We needed this to happen. The COVID kind of, I think, nothing happens by accident. All of this, the Creator made it happen the way it was supposed to happen.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I believe that. I believe that.
Was
I believe that. We got to reprogram, reset. We got to hit the reset button on
exactly. You have to reset. And this was the reset button. Now, for those 40 million people who don't want to move, who wants to, it's funny. Today I was watching on one of the social media. They were showing I guess a picture of Trump, but it was like a giant hole or sinkhole, and he's running into the hole. And
they've been with the joke on Facebook. Facebook's been on one with all this stuff.
They're killing it.
Yeah, they killing
all the followers are just running after him into jumping into a hole. At the end of the day, you rather sell your soul because of your skin and your white power instead of what's right. At the end of the day, it's all about white power. It's not about us living together in harmony. Those people don't want to be in harmony because they know it's about their power. They're losing their power, and they're doing everything possible to hold on to it.
Yeah.
And they're using the police for that.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow.
But that's a whole other topic. We can do a whole other show on.
Yeah, that's a whole other show. That's why I didn't even want to. That's why I try to avoid the politics, because I know that could just take us down a whole, another, because that's deep. That's a whole nother show. But we had to speak on it because we are living in it right now, and we are witnessing something. Like I said, a change in them all the way around. Just everything from not only the presidency, politics, but the COVID, police. Us being killed every day, not only by the police but by ourselves. Another black man was murdered today. These youngsters. Everything what we're speaking on right now, from hip hop to just personal, and everything we're speaking on right now is what we are dealing with. You know what I mean? So
yes.
So ugly, so beastie.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I mean,
real.
Back in the day, hip hop used to bring that, bring what's going on in our society to light, to the masses. And I know you probably miss that right now, the messenger, because everything is about, shaking your ass and getting that bag, So,
yeah.
Everybody we lost out here.
Nobody
man.
wants.
I mean,
like this generation.
But I know it's money, because they're just thinking about the money. And the youngsters are. I will say this: they're getting money than none other. I don't know if it's been a bigger time in hip hop, because older cats wasn't getting the money these cats are getting these days.
Not like this. Not like this. But
not like this.
Don't let it fool you.
No, but the flip
I'm
side
saying,
is
not to
this,
cut you off. I'm saying, don't let it fool you.
Okay.
A lot of they think, don't let them. They're not making the money that you think they're making. Don't let it fool you.
Yeah, but that's what I was getting at. Whatever money they are getting, they're flashing it. So even if they are getting it, it's still being represented the wrong way, because even then, that's not what we did. Even if you're getting the money, you don't put all your money, you don't flash it, put your stuff on social media and show the world. That's what we did not do. So even if they are getting it, they're still getting it the wrong way.
I beg to differ. I beg to differ. If social media was back in the 90s, they would be doing the same thing. And I'll give you one example.
Think so?
You remember Eric B and Rakim?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were flashy.
Did you watch any of their videos?
Man, yeah, come on. Eric B and Rakim, that's my favorite group. I understand Rakim, but on the flip side,
with the cars,
they was flossy. They was flossy. But check this out.
The money. He was throwing the money, tossing the money.
Yeah, he was. But it was in a different manner, because look, I'm gonna tell you the difference. When I looked at Eric B, especially Eric B, first of all, Rakim, I think Rakim just did what he was doing, but Rakim didn't even really believe in that, because if you listen to Rakim's lyrics, that's not what he represented in his lyrics. But he had to present the image.
His partner did.
But he did. But what I was about to say is, when I look at Eric B, though, who did do that, I looked at him like others. I didn't look at him like, oh, he just flat. I looked at like Eric B as somebody who's respectful, though, like an OG way back then that can do that. It was certain people that could do that and certain people that could not. And you being from New York, you know that, because I heard plenty of stories of people who got robbed on a daily.
Right.
And I don't think Eric B got robbed. You feel me? So it was certain, like you said, they were doing that, but
Well,
I
mean, not to put anybody on blast. The reason the brother probably didn't get robbed is because of, if you know his people, he ain't getting robbed.
Yeah.
Exactly. He ain't getting robbed because he wasn't, he was in a different space.
Right.
But
what I'm trying to say is
really
Eric B held himself. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's a whole different level because again, Puffy is not an Eric B. When I looked at Eric B, he was somebody who could be respectful and handle himself in a respectful way, not on just some flashy. He was a guy that was a stand-up guy. Puffy just came in. I'm sure we all know. Just that's why that was totally different. You know what I mean? That was totally different. And we know where that went. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And back in the day, we wasn't getting a lot of hip hop artists getting murdered like they're getting murdered by the way they're being murdered now from being flashy. These hip hop artists are too flashy.
That's what I say. It's a whole different level. They put their whole $1 million in the picture. They sit up there holding $1 million and expecting nobody not to want to come rob them.
Which is true. But the thing is, also we got to look at the generation. These kids nowadays, life don't mean nothing to them. Losing a life or killing somebody don't mean nothing. These kids, like I said, that's a whole nother different topic when it comes to. You remember you was asking me about me and my upbringing and the family you come from, affects. Yeah. A lot of these kids don't come from stable homes, stable families. They don't come
from anything. Especially these days.
So
now it's totally different. The mom is their friend. They're not like being raised by your mom who had like their mom is their homeboy. Their mom listens to the same music they listen to. They sitting up there turning up in the car together, and mom probably still shaking her ass on Instagram, and her son is friends with her and got to look at that. So yeah, it's totally different.
There's a lot of younger mothers and grandmothers out here now, and a lot of younger ones. So that's why it's that way with the mothers.
I didn't mean it in a bad way. It's just what it is. Yeah, it's not in a bad way. It's not their fault. But that's just the reality of what's going on now. And they don't know any better. So it's like the blind leading the blind, really.
Yeah. You hit it on the head. But like I said, it's systemic. All this stuff is systemic, and it's all part of the issue that we're dealing with in today. And we're looking for politicians to help us fix it. At the end of the day, we have to start fixing ourselves because all these kids killing each other on a day-to-day basis. The police is killing us too. But why don't we?
We still killing each other more.
We're still killing each other,
and we have to gain the respect. They don't respect us because we don't respect ourselves, and that's the problem too. As long as we're doing what we're doing, they don't respect it.
Yes,
it's just reality.
That's the ticket right there. That's the ticket. So
that's why they laugh at us with this Black Lives Matter because they're like, do your life really matter to each other?
Really?
You're out here.
And that's what I'm saying. Not only white people and police, other races too. I look at other people conversations, and not only that they're being racist, I think they're just telling the real. They're talking. They're like, well, if they're speaking on Black Lives, they look at it the same way. Well, how can you say Black Lives Matter if and it's offensive, because they don't know totally. But if you got somebody from the outside looking in, that's all they're gonna see. You know what I mean? So it's hard to have an argument. Even though it's not fully true, but it's hard to have an argument when that's what they look at and see. Well, how are you saying Black Lives Matter and you kill each other every day, just like the day was another murder? So that's all they see.
Right.
Man, we can go on with this all night. I'm sorry to even get into this. I'm sorry to even get into that topic. We took a left and all of that, but I just enjoy having genuine people like yourself that I can have these conversations with. Man, me and Queen love to have just these type of conversations and when we have a guest such as yourself, man. So I just appreciate, you even being open-minded to talk to us and just opening up to us tonight as well, man. We had a great conversation. Great conversation, Skeff. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so with that being said, blessings to you and your family, blessings to your prosperity, blessings to your wife prosperity and what she's doing, and peace and love to you all as well. Just stay safe out there and keep doing your thing and keep being the humble spirit that you are. because it definitely, definitely shows. You can hear it. You know, you don't have to be in the presence, the physical presence, to recognize that. You know, so keep inspiring, motivating, and being humble. Because I love humbleness. I love humble people.
And you guys keep up the good work. Keep building that platform you guys have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Skeff. Thank you, Skeff. We really appreciate that, brother. Peace and love to you, man, and everything you got coming up and going on. Tell the people again before we go where they can follow you at, get at you for business, or just follow what you have going on so they can be in touch, be in tune with the new music and everything. Go ahead and put the handles out there.
Yes, you can hit Skeff Anselm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That's SKEFF.
And your YouTube.
And my YouTube channel, yes. It's SKEFF ANSELM, Skeff Anselm, on all platforms, and music on all platforms.
There it is. There it is. Skeff Anselm. Thank you, sir, again, man. Wonderful, wonderful episode right here. If anybody missed anything tonight, you know you can go back and listen to it. We'll have it up on the Blog Talk Radio site. Also on our YouTube channel, The G-Lew Show. You can go back and listen to this episode. I think this was a classic. I think anybody who came in late needs to go back and listen to the entirety of this episode because it was great. I want to thank again our sponsors, BTP Media Group, Jeff Kwan, who made it happen. Shout out to my big brother, 93 Tweed FMism, Tweed Cadillac, every Thursday night, the After 6 Cruise Mix. Shout out to Dee Dee Harrison, the greatest author in the world. Follow her right now at Dee Dee Harrison, Instagram, Facebook, all that. Skip Touring, Westside Car Club, the GLewShow.com as well. And shout out to my co-host, Queen Jean. Love you, Queen. Thank you. This is the G-Lew Show, Flashback Fridays. We did that.
Oh, you're right. We did that.
Skeff, let me go back to a classic that Skeff produced right here. Lord Finesse, one of my favorites.
Lord Finesse got something for your eardrums. Back on the scene, long time no hear from. It's the funky man, the brother with the same sound I've been cooling. A body and some change now. So hand over the microphone, cause it's my turn. The brother with the fade, half moon and long sideburns. Nice doping, keep the girl scoping. I say the funky stuff and get all the brothers open. So heed that. Don't try to yap and give me feedback. Lord Finesse is the man. Believe that, can it? I see your show like a bandit. I get paced while you're broke like mass transit. You're not as smooth as it, so what can you do to this? Brothers need to stop and step with that foolishness. I'm the type to interrupt the party. I don't need a phone to reach out and touch somebody. Give me a mic, that's just as good as one. Leave the party is what you act and see should've done. Cause y'all starving, I'm living extra large in. I'm swinging this as if my name was Tarzan. Yeah, cause on the rough with a smooth tip, I got more styles than you see in a kung fu flick. It's Lord Finesse and I got it all planned. It's the return of the funky man. Brothers get cash, but I get way more. Cause in the 90s I'm getting paid for rhyming MV, 21st century. So when asked who the funkiest, you better mention me. I go all out while a lot of cruising frontin'. I know and they know that they can't do me nothing. Cause I'm smooth and while the skills I utilize. Lyrics so advanced you think my brain was computerized. Brothers be frontin', thinking they delaying something. Yapping at the mouth, but yo, they ain't saying nothing. I rain terror so clever that rap is better. Play the background and get they act together. Cause they be riffing like they on a crazy tip. Trying to flex but they soften and baby shit. Frontin' like they wild, what they played out style. I put them boys on trial, pull they card and they foul. I'm hardcore, but I still keep the scene pumping. So all that singing and dancing, that stuff don't mean nothing. MC slept on Lord Finesse lately. Some of them hate me, think they could take me. I take on some of them, bring a whole ton of them. I take them all on and stomp each and every one of them. Brothers couldn't hang using poetry starter kits. Finesse is blessed and more complex than politics. In 91, I show fear to none cause I'ma get raw and funky for years to come. I stand in command with the mic in my hand. It's the return of the funky man. Who's the man? Come on, take a guess, G. The LORDFINESSC. It's time to celebrate, build and elevate. MCs that try to rap, I grab the mic and tell them wait. Cause times is getting rough, no time to be slipping up. So pay attention and listen up. and I'm bound to get others hyped and make them say, hey yo, that brother's nice. That's why when I grab a mic, I don't know how to act, but the crowd reacts to my slick type style of rap. Word is born, I be flowing strong. That's why brothers always say, the next guy going on. But I don't go out like a poop putt, get all gassed and walk around souped up. I just max and write raps that are facts, so next year I'll be back to keep my name on the map. Cause so much, brothers that was rough got paid, lost they touch cause they didn't give a. But I'm not like that, I just strike back with hype raps, keep me on the right track. Out for self, for fame and wealth, I got hits under the belt. Go ahead with the belt. But yo, I'm not big time, I just rip rhymes, flip lines to prove I could get mines and can win again. And make ladies and gentlemen clap, yell and scream and say, yeah, again. That shows I got more clout. I get hyped with a mic when it's time to go all out. My plans be going cool, game is flowing smooth, and that's the man. Damn right, I can show and prove. I'm here to take my stand. Hot damn, it's the return of the funky man. Bad brothers know his name. Come again. Bad brothers know his name. Bad brothers know his name.
Hey, it's Dee Harrison, chilling every Wednesday and Friday on the G-Lew Show with G-Lew and the wonderful Queen Jean. And on OG Sundays with Big Flossy and Hankster the Gangster. Be sure to tune in and take that ride. You can find me on Instagram at DD_Harrison, that's HAIRSTON, or email me at ddharrison100@gmail.com.
Do I love you? Do I lust for you? Am I a sinner because I do the two? Can you let me know? Right now, please. Bonita Applebaum.
Bonita Applebaum, you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, I said you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, I said you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, I said you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, you gotta put me on. Bonita, Bonita, Bonita. Hey Bonita, glad to meet you.
For the kind of stunning you miss, I must beseech you.
Hey, being with you is a top priority. Ain't no need to question the authority. Chairman of the board, chief of affection. You got mine to swing in your direction. Hey, you're like a hip hop song, you know. Bonita Applebaum, you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, I said you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, I said you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, I said you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, you gotta put me on. Bonita, Bonita, Bonita. 38, 24, 37. You and me, honey, we're a match made in heaven. I like to kiss you where some brothers won't. Listen, I like to tell you things some brothers don't. If only you could see through your elaborate eyes. Only you and me, hun, the love never dies. Satisfaction, I have the right tactics. And if you need them, I got crazy prophylactics. So far, I hope you like rap songs. Bonita Applebaum, you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, I said you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, you gotta put me on. Bonita Applebaum, I said you gotta put me Benita.
Mr. G-Lew. Good evening, sir. How are you? You're live with Mr. Louis Rancott, original Jamaican Dada.
Good evening. Greetings, Mr. Rankin, Mr. Lennox.
Enough respect. I am the original Jamaican Dada.
Much respect.
I'm happy talking, man, especially to LA, California, wherever, because that's my city, eh?
Right. Original music, the G-Lew show, and the original Dada, Mr. Rankin.
All right, we about to slide up out of here. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Shout out to our special guest, man. Special guest, the homie Skeff Anselm. If you missed anything again, go back and listen to the episode. We'll be back Sunday night. OG Sundays, rated #1 on Blog Talk Radio. You already know. Check out my brother Tweed Cadillac. Check out my girl Queen Jean tomorrow night. All new episode of Conversations in the Hookah Lounge. Queen Jean, tell them what they can expect tomorrow before we leave out of here.
Tomorrow, Conversations in the Hookah Lounge, we have a proclaimed author, Durrell. C. Durrell, you can follow her on Instagram, and she's also a friend of my partner, sister, Dee Harrison. So come and check us out and learn of her journey and how she became an author. That's at 7 o'clock p.m. West Coast and 10 o'clock p.m. East Coast. It's an hour show. Take an hour out of your time and come and hang with us in the hookah lounge. Bring your hookah, chill glass, and whatever you need to put inside of that hookah to get you in that zone. But just come and chill with us and get that vibe. We got great energy. That's what's happening tomorrow.
There it is. Queen Jean. You're going to hear that beautiful voice right there. Queen Jean. Shout out to Dee Harrison as well. She will be there and just get you a dose of that, man. You won't be disappointed, I promise you. Thanks again to everybody who tuned in tonight. Check us out after hours. We got a special guest, my homeboy, Mr. CR from Los Angeles, California. Man, tune in. If you ain't got nothing to do, go over there to YouTube in about 15 minutes. We're going to be there. We'll have a good time tonight, man. So check us out. Hookah Lounge tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. Don't be late. Meet us there, okay? We out of here. Love y'all. My mama. Queen Jean, love you. Peace and love, y'all. Megalicious.
Peace and
Rev
love.
Ali. Love y'all. Peace. We out of here.
Peace.